According to Eldad Hadani, an Israelite from the tribe of Dan, and a traveler who lived around the 9th century, the tribes of Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher journeyed to Havilah near Ethiopia, in Africa. They lived there as nomads, and later formed their own kingdom. Encyclopedia Judaica states that, Eldad Hadani, late 9th century, traveler. His origins and personality remain a mystery. He professed to belong to the tribe of Dan, hence his name Hadani. Eldad claimed that the Danites together with the tribes of Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, while leading a nomadic existence, formed an independent kingdom under the rule of their king Adil, or Uzziel. Their kingdom was in Havilah, the land of gold, see Genesis chapter 2, verse 11, near Ethiopia. Notice that the tribes of Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher were all from the northern kingdom of Israel, also known as the house of Israel or Ephraim. Later on in history, the house of Judah got very wicked as well, and as a result, they went through several captivities. Because of these captivities, Judah was scattered to the nations, and of course, the countries of Africa are among those nations. Those, of the southern kingdom of Israel, who were able to flee, joined Ephraim in Africa. Some were sold as slaves to African merchants. In the days of the Maccabees, the Israelites from the southern kingdom of Israel were already in Africa. 2 Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1, from the Apocrypha in the 1611 King James Bible, the brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem and in the land of Judea, wish unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt, health and peace. Even when the Romans were about to invade Jerusalem, many Israelites of the house of Judah fled to Africa for refuge. Luke chapter 21, verse 20-21. And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out, and let not them that are in the countries enter thereinto. Rudolph R. Windsor, in his book called From Babylon to Timbuktu, stated that, Mr. Lichtblau, speaking of the Israelites that ran into Africa, says this, pressed under sweeping regional conflicts, Jews settled as traders and warriors in Yemen, the Horn of Africa, Egypt, the Kingdom of Cush and Nubia, North African Punic settlements, Carthage and Volubilis, and areas now covered by Mauritania. More migrants followed these early Jewish settlers to northern Africa. In the 14th and 15th century, many black Jews throughout Europe were banished and sent to the west coast of Africa as slaves. These Israelites joined their brethren, who were already in Africa, because of the several captivities they faced. John Ogilvy wrote a book entitled Africa, being an accurate description of the regions of Egypt, Barbary, Libya, and Bilad al-Jarak, and the following is what he wrote on page 34 of his book. Many Jews also are scattered over this region, some natives, boasting themselves of the Abraham's seed, inhabiting both sides of the river Niger, others are Asia's strangers, who fled thither either from the desolation of Jerusalem by Vespasian, or from Judea wasted and depopulated by the Romans. Persians, Saracens, and Christians, or else such as came out of Europe whence they were banished. Out of some parts of Italy in the year 1342. Out of Spain in the year 1462. Out of the Low Countries in 1350. Out of France in 1403. Out of England in 1422. These all differ in habit, and are divided into several tribes, having no dominion, though both wealthy and numerous, but despised of all nations, and so abominated by the Turks, that they are not admitted to be Mahometans, unless first baptized, and then no otherwise made use of, than to receive their customs, and gather in their taxes. So, there were Israelites scattered on the region of West Africa, on both sides of the river Niger. Those who regarded themselves to be natives, boasting themselves to be Abraham's seed, were actually from the northern kingdom of Israel, whereas, those who considered themselves to be strangers, who fled there, either from the invasion of Judea by the Romans, Persians, Saracens, and Christians, or else such as came out of Europe whence they were banished, were, in fact, from the southern kingdom of Israel. These two classes of Israelites differed in habit, and were divided into several tribes, because, after the split of Israel, the house of Israel, and the house of Judah became two separate kingdoms, and two separate nations. That is why the Bantus and the Negroes in West Africa, are said to belong to the same language family called Niger-Congo A, and Niger-Congo B, Bantu. Remember that, according to 2 Esdras chapter 13, verse 40-47, the 10 tribes of Israel took counsel among themselves to leave Assyria, and go to a further country, called Arsaroth, where no man dwelt. And we did show that Arsaroth was a region in North Africa, and that the house of Israel crossed the river Euphrates to get there. By the way, when the Israelites thought of a place to flee to where no man dwelt, North Africa was a perfect choice because they were familiar with it, and there were places there where man never set foot. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 6. Neither said they, Where is the Lord that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, that led us through the wilderness, through a land of deserts and of pits, through a land of drought, and of the shadow of death, through a land that no man passed through, and where no man dwelt. In fact, as late as the 1800s, there were still places in Africa where no man dwelt. British historian, Basil Davidson, when exploring regions of Africa, said the following: Now the task was to stake out frontiers in utterly uncharted land. Said the French Prime Minister, we have embarked on a gigantic steeplechase into the unknown. The British Prime Minister Lord Salisbury was to say of this period, we've been engaged in drawing lines on maps where no man's foot has ever trod. The Lemba people, one of the Bantu tribes in sub-Saharan Africa, have a very strong oral history and tradition which shows that they are descendants of ancient Israelites. According to Lemba oral tradition, thousands of years ago, the Lemba people were forced out of Israel, and settled in a place called Sirna, which is believed to be modern-day Yemen. There they lived as traders and craftsmen, until war or natural disaster pushed them across the Red Sea, and into northeast Africa. From there, they migrated further south into southern Africa. Along the way, the Lemba state that they built great stone cities. Dirk Lang in his book, Origin of the Yoruba and the Lost Tribes of Israel, wrote that, according to Oyo Yoruba tradition, the ancestral Yoruba saw the Assyrian conquests of the Israelite kingdom from the 9th to the 8th centuries BC, from the perspective of the Israelites. After the fall of Samaria in 722 BC, they were deported to eastern Syria and adopted the ruling Assyrian kings as their own.